Welcome to the Kilkenny Ridge 25 miler video. I am here with some of my running buddies. We're going to do some commentary on the race. This is Greg.
And Nick.
Josh.
And Sean. And if you're looking for me in the video, look for the best looking guy you can find.
The bib punches, so the first one you're going to get to will be after the first manned aid station. You'll leave that. You leave Willard Notch, and then it's like maybe a 900-foot climb up Terrace Mountain. And it's a wicked hard left.
You guys remember how cold it was?
Yeah, and it was also like, contrary to the light here, it's like 5:15 in the morning when we got there. We got up so early to get to this
place. Make sure you
place.
head the right way. Don't go back the way you came when you get back to the ridge. And then the horn is after Cabot. So that's, I don't know, 5 miles past Willard Notch or something like that. Maybe it's more than that. I don't know. It's out there somewhere. But anyway, the horn's after Cabot.
This is one of those races too where when you catch the bus and you have to go out to the start, you're driving forever and you're just like, I have to run not only this far, but over just what was it, like 93 mountains that we went over for this race.
Ride. I don't think that sun came up until we.
That was it's just like the bus ride took forever to get out to this place.
Nasty. Sorry. So first of all, please be nice to hikers and rangers. Actually, be overly nice to hikers and rangers. We're finally starting to have them warm up to us. So we don't want to ruin this. Flags on the 48 is going on, which means there's going to be a lot of people out there. Big old flags on the summits. It's kind of cool. It's a September 11th remembrance thing that happens every year. So say hi, smile. I ran into a few of them yesterday when I was hauling gear up. They're pretty excited to see the runners tomorrow. So, you know, a smile goes a long way even if you're suffering. This is a really remote course. It's your responsibility to follow the course markings and stay on the trail, so pay attention. White Mountains are rugged. Run within your comfort zone. If you've never run here before, expect your times to be a lot slower than other races you may have run. If you're injured, try to get to an aid station and tell another runner so they can alert the aid station volunteers. All the aid stations have satellite phones. Hopefully they work. That's how we'll be communicating. So if there's an issue, they will let us know.
I'm not having fun if I have dry heat.
There's Tim Chory, our good buddy who
You'll never
kicks,
see him again.
I think he won the race.
Yeah, it's
and Ian. So these are the only times we're going to see Ian and Tim and Kevin.
Who's that handsome guy?
We're talking about elevation.
Is that his LinkedIn picture?
What are you doing, Lunga?
What, we started at 1,400 feet? That's
We were syncing up our watches right there to make sure we were on the same page.
There we go. I remember even the start was just like, damn, it's uphill. Like immediately, every step. And then of course everyone wants to run at the start of every race. And like you don't want to be the first person to stop walking. And I think all of us immediately were just like, yeah, we're walking. Like
that was the game plan from
within
before
5
we left.
seconds,
I was like, all right, we're all walking. Everyone was locked into walking up the road.
That's actually what we're talking about right here. You guys haven't heard the audio, but you can hear me say like, wait, this wasn't in the game plan. And Sean, you jumped right in on it. You're like, what happened to our camp plan of walking the beginning, you know?
Right by being lapped already.
We're being bullied into this, Sean.
Yeah, I know.
I think once we hit dirt is when the walking started, I think.
And you know, the best part is when you stop and start walking, you're actually going like maybe faster sometimes than you are just doing this like fake jog.
Absolutely. That was me for the Mount Washington road race. I had that epiphany of just like a power hike right now is you're going about the same pace as somebody who's jogging, you know, super slowly.
Some of this looks like that crossing the street trot.
Yeah, when a car's coming, you just move your arms fast.
So also remember when we were on the bus heading over here and the race director, so the two race directors, the woman race director was clearly the enforcer of the two. It was a like husband-wife combination. And the guy comes onto the bus and is like, all right, guys, there's water up at the top of the first hill. He's like, please fill your water bottles before you go out because I'm really going to request that you don't take any water with you or out of that aid station. I'm pretty sure most of us had the game plan of like, all right, we're going to run to the first aid station, fill our waters, and then get going from there. So the first ascent, you're not carrying any water. He got off the bus. Clearly his wife had yelled at him. And he was like, so I can't tell you not to drink water, but
Be considerate.
be really considerate because those guys on the 50-mile race are probably going to need it more than you.
I had considerable guilt when I used one to like wash my face at the top. But I mean, it's my race.
Oh, I'm glad I stopped rolling video on that. When you took a shower.
Let's Look at
those calves.
Ah, that's what we were talking about. This is what I've been waiting for, to see these calves.
What's his workout regimen?
I'm breathing heavy just
Yeah, I'm
hiking.
second wing.
Me too.
Part of that's because we haven't really opened up anything yet,
Yeah, not even warmed up yet.
or trained.
Yep, that too.
We haven't trained yet.
This is our training. Yep, that's what I was just thinking.
And it was cold, but then it was hot because your heart rate was just racing. Even though we're going like at a fast walk, you could see we're already sweating through our clothes here.
Yep. So right here, I think I'm about to mark up a title. We're 2.5 miles in, so we're getting right to the top of that first ridge line, and yeah, it doesn't convey in a video, but yeah, we just hiked for like an hour and something. Probably,
Yeah, no, you can tell
straight
by
up. Yeah,
where the sun is, and like that's
it was an hour.
It was gonna be a long day because we almost saw the other side of that thing.
Yeah.
I remember that when we were talking about the race before we got going, it was like, all right, I'd previously hiked Waumbek and thinking about what this trail entailed, and I'm like, other than there's like a crappy road going in, I don't remember it at all. And
No,
I
you
don't
kept saying it
remember.
was gonna be easy. There was like the Starr King Trail was supposed to be not that steep, right? And then straight up.
1 hour and 2.5 miles.
Yep.
With zero view. With zero view.
Yeah, that was what was kind of a bummer about. I mean, the foliage and the terrain and everything. It was really cool. It had its upsides. It was really cool with all the overgrowth and everything. But the lack of just
There wasn't the big
vistas or-
expansional view, like
Yeah.
whatever. But you're right. I loved the terrain. The atmosphere was awesome, but the views weren't there. And you know what, though? To be honest with you, every single race, I'm like, you got to stop and look at the views, and you never do. You look at the ground in front of you like the entire time.
And you get little moments. It's funny, I missed it, but right to our right there was a gorgeous view. And actually, you can hear Josh say like, "Oh, hey, go around, go back, and go get it." And my thought was, we got another 23 miles to go, or whatever. But you really did very few of those. You can kind of see it peaking a little bit to the right there. But
Look at everybody running right there. That's because there's a cameraman.
Oh, that's awesome. You guys look to the right and see all those clouds?
Sit back in the woods and walk.
God, I wish I had caught that on my GoPro. It was like all those misty clouds below us. No, we're good. We only have like 23 miles left of footage to get.
Yep. This is when we got into like the Jurassic Park fern forest too. Yeah, is there a velociraptor coming through the side brush to take me out here, because I can't see anything. Left and right, I'm just in a green tunnel.
Nick, did you take any nutrition in yet? That's good. Calories. Yeah, I had a gel and some gummies on the way up. So I knew it'd be tough to do here, especially with the GoPro. Oh yeah. Yep. Sure.
And the sun's in your eyes at this part of the morning too. You can see it in the camera too. It's like you just had everything focused on where your footstep was gonna go.
God, it feels so good not to be climbing. Oh yeah.
Oh god, no, there were sections like this where just when you thought it would have been nice to run, they threw in some water. Tons of moose dropping everywhere too. Like, yeah, it was crazy how many moose are out there. We didn't see any, but
And moose dropping, if you've never seen it, that might have been my first experience seeing moose dropping. Like, you're talking a couple of gallons worth of poop. I mean, it was shocking. And they love the trail. They must get out and they feel the breeze of like a little clearing there. And how many times? Like 15 things of moose dropping?
yeah, easy. I mean, I was only able to eat a couple of them.
It helps bridge the aid stations.
Yeah, a lot of protein, a lot of fiber in there.
We figure the meese run these mountains all day, every day.
Yeah.
So
This terrain was awesome though. The fern forest was looking back, that was probably, I mean, in a few minutes after this section, it gets into like when you're coming down off of the ridge, after the first two peaks, after, what is it, Waumbek and then
Cabot?
No, it's Starr King,
yeah.
and then Waumbek, and then you take a drop down, and it starts to get really like condensed to your point where we couldn't see feet and stuff. I thought that was really, I'd never run anything like that before.
I mean, kudos to the race directors for getting the permit to do a race like this in the White Mountains. I think it's the first time anyone had done it. And, you know, it's obviously such a hugely popular hiking area. But to pull off a race like this, like just logistics-wise, it's so remote. I mean, you can see from this trail that this is not, you know, the most heavily trafficked part of the White Mountains at all. It's pretty remote and just so technical to have a race in there. It's pretty amazing.
And they had to be, but likely they didn't have to use it, but prepared in case someone got hurt out in this like remote terrain to be ready. I remember at one point late in the race, to show how comfortable people are in the mountains, one of the forest ranger guys comes out in like his khakis and his hiking boots and a backpack, and like we're running a race and he just like casually walks by us at like a 450 mile. I think like it was ridiculous how. So thankfully there's people like that out there to save you just in case, but.
Yeah, this is, I mean...
The sound of the PR opening there, that was well timed.
Still recovering. Still recovering.
I was gonna say, in terms of remoteness, like this is by far the most remote 4,000 footers in New Hampshire. So like that, I mean, trail usage, if you're up at like Lincoln Lafayette or the Presidentials or anything like that, like you actually see people on the mountain and on the ridgeline and roaming around. I think the only people we saw until we got to Cabot were the people that were part of the race. And then once we got off Cabot, we didn't see anybody until we finished the race.
There was the few people that were celebrating the flags for the September 11th stuff. Yeah. And that would like, if that happened to not be there, we would have seen absolutely no one out there. And you could tell that, to your point, that these trails were overgrown because they don't get the foot traffic that a lot of the other places get.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like, it's just far enough up, far enough away that you're like, we're not on 93 and we're not near Conway.
And there's no views.
And there's minimal views.
So who's actually hiking up there, right? It's like a checklist hike as opposed to a scenic, you know.
Oh man, this is one of those sections that like, you feel
Almost
good
3.5
running,
miles in.
but then the second it starts turning uphill, that first, I mean, we didn't. You're right. It never shows up on videos much, but the initial ascent took so much out of your legs, like right away. You had to. What did we climb? We climbed. We started at 1,400 feet. It's a lot of climbing to get up to whatever Starr King is, just over 4,000.
Fingers are dexterity? No, man.
Look at that teamwork, man.
Oh, you don't have gloves on, huh? The P break, the coordinated P break, or
I'm helping with like my strap and stuff and
penis. Is that what you call your penis?
yeah.
Right up here?
I'm gonna use that.
So what did that mile marker say? We're
it was only 3.5.
Oh my god.
You know,
This is gonna be so long.
No,
the pace is going to pick up. I just used a lot of our actual early running in that Jurassic Park forest.
Jurassic Park forest, that's great. It is so, you are right. Like if we heard that, the pitch of the raptor scream coming out, I wouldn't have been surprised.
Yeah, that makes sense. This was really cool though. I love
Oh, sweet.
when you're at like the ridge line and you have all the dead trees. It's just so ominous. It's so cool looking. And
It's
then
when-
the clouds. It was
Not
like
bad,
a
huh,
beautiful
Josh?
day with the cloud cover. And
Started way down there.
It's that dichotomy
Down
of
the
like
valley.
it's just starting to starve everything of oxygen, and that's why the trees are smaller, the shrubs, there's all those dead trees and everything, but like that's the best part of the mountain, and even the trees are trying to survive up there to get that view. That's but I love that. That's always one of my favorite parts about the White Mountains are seeing the spruce as you're getting
got a
up
good
there,
day,
like
huh?
decreasing in size as you're getting up towards elevation indoor exposure.
So we got. This is the water stop that Nick's taking a shower in the background. You can't see him.
Everybody listened, as you can tell. Don't take any water, guys. Seriously, There's 60 people.
You can see by my camera work, I was also able to focus that out on the great view. Nope, right into my chest strap.
This is treacherous with these. Yeah, absolutely.
I love these ridge lines though, like in the trees.
Sunken in.
Because you just have all this like dead wood above you. It just looks so ominous.
Is Sean close behind you, or?
Yeah, he was just eating
Oh, okay. We got pretty much a perfect running day. Like when you think about like, oh, this is awesome. Right here. Sorry, I don't want to do the Chris Farley. This is awesome.
just
This part is awesome.
Remember that time we like went into the woods?
That was awesome.
Just crazy.
Thank God that the earlier group got through and cleared all the spiders for us.
Can you imagine what this race would have been like had it been like 38 degrees and pouring rain?
That night for the 50 miles, it dropped down into the 30s. One of our coworkers, Mike Buzon, was one of the sweeper guy who starts at the end, and so he was hiking in the middle of the night. And he said it was cold out there. I couldn't imagine being that calorie deprived, that much long being exposed to the elements, and then temperature dropping into the 30s would have been
I feel like
tough.
I'm a trip. Because I can't see my feet.
Yep.
And I don't know which one of these branches cuts across. Great terrain.
It really is like. It's just.
Do you guys wish at all that you brought poles?
No.
Nope. Me neither. Like, I get it that they would have been great for the ascents, and some of the, but that was like, I don't know.
It was so rocky and rooty, and like the inability to see through the ferns. Like
Right,
you
yeah,
would have
you're
had
right.
nowhere to pull. Like I don't even know how you would pole plant
Try to
through
swing
here.
those things around, but
Yeah.
I only thought about that when we brought up the weather and the rain. That
Yeah.
like maybe it would have been nice if it was really muddy and slippery, but
There's some people running like the start of the race with non-collapsible poles, and I was like, what you guys are like, I've never seen this before. You guys think you're out west? Like this is the terrain is not going to be forgiving to somebody that has poles that don't change size.
like poles right here would have been a pain.
Yep.
To just be carrying them. There's no need. This is that part though that you can tell it's starting to close in over your feet.
Yep.
And like if you look down at the bottom of the screen here with the camera, you can see even underneath that it's like you lose that visibility as it gets underneath your feet. Just that slight overgrowth.
There's a lot of branches to knees and shins and all that throughout there. Yeah.
Is this right where we lose the trail too?
This is right in that section, yeah, where we went off trail for that. I didn't have the camera running when we went like full blown off trail, but I think I pick it up again soon.
Ooh, see, this is sketchy for me.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure, like, at what point I'm going head over heels.
Yeah, no, I think you're taking it at a good clip.
I mean, I think we did a pretty good job teamwork-wise of yelling out, "Rock!"
It's one person fumbled through it. You're like, all right.
Yeah. At least if you were in the back, you were safe.
Yep. Passing those lessons forward.
I was super, super happy with the
Watch out.
approach we ended up taking. I think it like couldn't have gone better in terms of like
all day pace. That's what
that was the theme.
whatever it takes to be moving as quick as you can all day.
No, and I think Nick at one point you said on Strava like they don't have the fun meter, but we're winning on the fun meter.
Yeah, what do you think our mileage will be when we see that?
That's a good question. They're after 5 a.m. and
I would say 7 miles in.
they're coming towards us.
We had the same feeling at the big A50K too, where we were like, you know, the guy who won, I think he even said to you afterwards, like, seemed like you guys were having a lot of fun.
What's the
And
point
like,
of finishing 20 minutes faster by yourself
Yes.
than to run like 9 hours with other people and have a good time and talk about it?
exactly.
So much so that we're gonna come here and talk about it again.
Log.
Hey, remember the time? Remember the time we ran? Let's talk about it.
Hold it low, Greg, so it's like fighting through the
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I got some of that when we first entered. Just like,
fern forest.
yep. Oop. All right, good save.
On a course like this, and where you're going to be out here for this long, and the terrain doesn't have those huge views, and you're kind of in the tunnel.
Yeah.
Going with people and like spending the day out there. That's why doing a big trail like this with a friend or friends but you got to be on the same page. That's the big deal, because everyone's going to hurt at different times and complain about different things, and like my knee.
Yeah.
And
Wait, your knee hurt?
yeah, it's
You should have said something.
every section like, hey guys, this is where I was complaining about my knee. Hey, but you know what? Like, it's only a few, sir. What is that? 4 times I've had it operated on, Josh. Must be nice.
Must be nice to have your original name.
Born with an amazing body.
It is.
Calves to support your weight.
Nick, I noticed you're getting a lot of screen time here. I think every time I tried to run behind Josh or Sean, you were like insisting that you be in front of the camera.
I mean, you can tell the sweat on my back is from just keeping a pace just fast enough to stay in front of the camera.
So this is right near where we went completely off trail. You could get a sense of all the down trees, and we lost the trail somewhere right around here.
I'm gonna watch this section because I'm not in front. I might even have the camera.
Oh, you're in the very
is this the first? No. Oh no, that's
Oh, yeah.
Nick. I was gonna say, is that the first person coming the other way?
6.2 miles in.
Oh, we're getting close now. That was pretty incredible though. We were like for
We said 7 miles in.
7
and
miles
saw
in,
them,
we were
like,
we were
yeah.
gonna pass somebody. That was the guess, and like at the 7.0 marker, somebody comes up the other way, and we're like, all right. Now the goal is to not get looped or lapped here.
We didn't get lapped, right? Or
No.
did we?
No, didn't get lapped. Did not get lapped.
You can tell how much trail or the storms recently that happened before we went out there. The couple of weeks there was a couple of big like end of summer storms, and if you notice how many trees had to be chainsawed out of the way of these trails throughout this course, it was already going to be, because of like the not getting as much foot traffic, a lot more technical. And then add in all this downed trees and everything that they just barely cut out. It narrowed everything.
Huge kudos to these race directors, because I know they were up there the night before, the morning of, going back and forth. I think they had people going both directions multiple times, I think, before the race started, just to check it out and make sure everything was good. So.
Yeah, they had volunteers back out the week of. Like they did an unbelievable job. And I mean, I think that their big thing was trying to get state permitting to run these races, and they're trying to get the Jigger Johnson set up for the first time in 2019, which will be a 50 and 100 in the whites.
Are we doing that?
Yes. I'll commit right now to the 50. Wow. I'll commit to the 50. It's going to be an aggressive hike, but yeah, no, they did an outstanding job.
Couldn't agree more. And the aid stations, like just the fact that like you're up on, a 4,000 footer and people were able to get, food and tailwind and water up there and everything. Like,
Someone had huff everything in there.
And they did a great job with the water filtration as well, because I mean that they didn't have to carry that water in; they carried it in the systems, and you couldn't tell the difference. Those filters.
And I ate
thought
more
they were
Sour
great.
Patch Kids
a
during
nice
this
change
race
of
than I
pace.
have in like the previous 2 years combined.
I
They had them
don't
at,
think
like,
I
every
knew that
aid
Sour
station.
Patch Kids were so phenomenal for a race.
Yeah,
Really,
it was
like,
wow.
Add that to the list.
We waited at one aid station for like 10 minutes just so I could eat more, I think.
So yeah, I think we're actually coming up probably pretty soon. I think it was mile 10 and a half miles or something. 11 miles is the first aid station. So
First man-aid station, where you were allowed to have water.
that's right.
It wasn't discouraged. It was actually encouraged at that point.
Nick, I mean, hearing lots of that. Oh, that was a deep one.
I forget who I was talking to at the very beginning. I think it might have been you, Greg. And it was like, ooh, I'm gonna try to avoid the mud because you don't want that wet, grimy foot, as long as possible. But then you hit a point when it's just easier to just step in it. But some of those were like that deep, sloppy mud where you heard the squish.
I feel like that like was something that it used to like really drive me crazy, was having wet feet.
Nice job.
And then at some point, I don't know when, but hiking,
50
running.
milers, guys. These,
This is the 50 miler guy coming by us.
yeah, passing a couple of people coming back up this hill.
Nice. Yeah, at some point I was just like, you know what? Like wet feet doesn't really matter. In a few strides, they're dry enough, and they're gonna get wet at some other point.
Good job, man.
It's one less thing to worry about. It's like you'd think you'd worry more about your feet being wet, but you worry more about keeping your feet dry. So it's nice to kind of just like check it off the list right away.
Keep it up.
I'm glad my dogs are
Enjoy the
insisting on
day.
being in this
Go,
video.
you too.
I'm sure we're gonna get some barking there. There were no dogs following us on the trail, but it's all
We
right.
did see dogs out there, though. We did see dogs out there.
Who found this race?
You're doing a
Did
good
you,
job.
Nick,
Nick-
did you find out from
Nick
Boozy?
did.
Some
Happy with going
Mike
to work.
Buzan, I
Yeah.
think, was the one who told me about it.
So the guy running sweep on this
Oh, exactly.
found it
We're
then,
moving great.
and then told you about it, Nick.
And I texted like Josh and you about it, and then you guys were immediately like signed up out of nowhere. And
Yeah, Josh and I had bib number 6 or something. I signed up and I think Josh and I just
It's one of those things like you say it and you're like, no, now I have to do this.
well, you were thinking about Reach the Beach, and I think
this is
Josh
the
and I,
headlamp.
within
Right.
15 minutes of you sending the email, just forwarded the like signed up thing, and then Sean, I don't know, you came in later too.
I was definitely
right?
later because
But-
you guys were already committed at the Big A 50K.
Yeah, and then Tim Chori, our buddy who ran too, was already committed. So I think there was already like 5 or 6 of us before Nick came on.
Tim Chory red-eyed the night before to go to this race too. It's awesome.
Funny story about Tim signing up is I talked to my buddy Kevin, who also ran with us, and Tim's out in California now, and Kevin signed up Tim and sent him the registration. And basically, because Tim was on the fence, and Kevin was like, "Oh yeah, by the way."
You're already, just so you know, you're already.
Oh, that's a good friend. That's awesome.
And then he went into the fall.
That's my first fall there. Yeah.
Say the go, bro.
Slippery. It doesn't look that slippery right there, but all those rocks are covered with moss. So it was about the
That was a
perfect
very gentle spot
place
to
to
fall.
fall,
It's
though.
still relatively early. It's before noon out there, so it hasn't like dried up fully. And from the temperature swing during this time of year, nighttime to daytime, that dew kind of sticks around a little bit longer.
Hey, man, nice job. Keep it up. Nice work.
That night, I remember lying in my tent, sore as hell, and it's like 38 degrees out or something like
Hey,
that.
nice job.
And you knew there were people up on that ridge still going across that race. Amazing.
That is amazing.
Yeah. What time did Boozy finish? Mike Bouzon finished. I feel like at like 5:30
Yeah,
in the
like
morning or
sun was
something.
coming up or something.
Sun was coming up, and
first
like
aid station.
the person that had finished before him, I feel like was only like 30 minutes in front of him.
Yeah.
So somebody was out there for the full 24 hours. Just yeah.
Grinding it out.
Yeah. It is 36. All right. I very easily could be making.
They were actually using a mountain stream here, right, to filtering the water, which is a pretty awesome way to do it rather than lug it all up there, you know.
And these volunteers were great. Great mood. Great, good energy. They did a good job out there.
Pouch, please.
Oh, man. You got to pay me royalties if you use my face in there.
While it was a gorgeous day, we couldn't ask for better, but it was like that exact in-between point of being warm and cool. And that's why like all day I was taking gloves on and off, and like you'd be chilly for a while and then you'd be sweating and then you'd be cold, and like all day was back and forth of temperatures. But I remember distinctly when you get to that aid station, you kind of dipped back down into
Slow
like
down
the
a little bit.
woods.
Yep.
And I definitely like there was a cooler point. Yep. So even though you're going uphill,
Yeah.
it's kind of a nice break to get your heart rate up and warm up a little bit. Look at that pace. Is this guy winning? Is that guy winning the race?
the winner?
Look at that pace. Man, it's like a metronome that's broken. Just
You know,
He looks like he's having fun though.
it's funny watching this now. It's like just super enjoyable knowing how the day went. But at the moment, Nick, I have to say, I was worried about that knee of yours because you started feeling it a lot right around this point, and we hadn't even gone halfway.
My hat.
So I had that feeling of like, oh man,
Not
Nick,
down.
this might be just like a slow walk, like all the way through.
luckily,
You know,
literally have no choice. But like, they're like, if you want to quit, it's going to be just as hard and long to get out. So you might as well finish. And like, but I don't know. I've been dealing with my knee for so long. This was definitely the most that has kind of barked at me in a single race. And the worst part it wasn't on the downhills. It was on the up. Every time I had to deep bend into it is when it would just almost like give out halfway through. And so it was just, I was a little bit worried too. I was more worried about slowing you guys down if I had to. It seems like that ADP was okay with everybody. It was,
no, and you've got a thing going now where I've just got to know this about you. But every race you do between miles like 10 and 15, you have this like weird low point, and then
Wait, so
and then
for
you're
the
like,
last 3 for the Stone Cat that he was pacing you, was it
yeah, I was
miserable?
just about to hit my real terrible place.
Wait, you're supposed to be pacing me.
Oh, I love this. The
punch.
remote little peaks that you had to get to, and in order to prove it, you had to go and punch your bib with
you
it.
have to pump yourself.
Just pump one out right there. At the
This was a fun wrinkle though, like you know,
Yeah.
just that feeling of like, oh, you gotta prove that you made it to that little
KT tape.
thing.
Josh, was that Greg?
That was
KT
me.
tape?
My knee was. My knee had been giving me.
You'd
trouble
never know because
for a
I was
while.
spending too much time complaining about mine.
Right, I tried to tell you, but you
I
wouldn't.
was like, are we talking about knees? Because mine hurt.
Because mine. Did you know I've had knee surgery?
Do you think we're heading that way?
Some views, man.
So
So
yeah, I
that's
think
one
we
of our
made a
peaks?
comment about this. How like that was.
So this is the crown, right?
if that's the payoff for Waumbek,
This
that's
is the
like
first,
pretty
like,
tough.
top
You
of the
know,
edge of the crown,
Right.
yeah.
Am I making a phone call there?
Let me get on my little map. Let's see what we got.
See where we're at here.
I could take a couple minutes.
South Terrace, or no, maybe we're at Middle Terrace.
Does it say on here where
We got one more up and down, or down and up.
One more?
Yeah.
Oh, so we're at Middle Terrace right now.
Should we have a safe injection site? Like, I'm pretty sure.
Ha!
Oh, no, she's good. He came on an airplane like it.
Oh, this is Cabot. This is the worst hill of the entire race. This was awful. Holy crap. It just like, it comes at like 3/4 of the race too.
Greg loves it.
Look at that smile.
Yeah.
All those guys really happy.
There was Tim's plan to just go hard to Cabot, right?
Yep.
Tim
And
Shorter
he
was
did.
like, yeah, I'm gonna go to
Cabot
Cabot,
kicked his
see what I have left,
Yeah.
and that's how I'm gonna finish.
Oh, Tim was so funny talking about this race at the campfire at the end of it. He was like, I'm not allowing my children to ever go in Cabot. He was like, none of my relatives will ever step foot on that mountain again. Like, he absolutely killed it in terms of his time. Tim finished in like, I don't remember, it was like
Six and change.
just something ridiculously fast in the top 10. But he paid the price, I think, for like, he was miserable. And I mean,
it was low, man.
Fun meter was low, but results shockingly
He
fast.
did not get a personal best on good times, I'll tell you that.
No, so right now here, Nick, I'd say watching the raw footage for this, you are in the pain cave.
You can see, like, every time if you watch, it was my right knee.
Yeah.
And watch how often I have to put my hand on to support, like, my step in. It was just, this was the hardest part, definitely, for my knee. But again, it's like, what can you do? What are your options besides, what, am I going to sit down and wait for a helicopter to pick you up? Yeah. Because your knee is sore? Like,
And even here, it looks like we're going so slow, but you're
were.
passing hikers. No, I know. We're not. It's funny. You would never think we're in a race.
Yeah, right.
You would
Like,
never think this
these guys
is a
aren't
race.
dressed appropriately for a hike.
But we'd be passing hikers here if
no,
there
we
were
were.
hikers.
And we
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
we caught up to other people, other runners on this
Yep.
section.
You still gonna run that 1 mile at the end to get in a marathon?
And that's all you can really ask for a race like this with
you
some of
supposed to do?
these
Look at that.
pieces. Yeah.
What,
you just-
are you supposed to run
Look
and
at
then
that.
turn
The
a corner?
camera's really doing us justice here. I don't know. I'm looking at this and it's kind of looking a lot flatter than I remember it being.
So this was funny.
No, look at
Well,
that
watch what
profile.
happens.
I know. There's the profile.
So
you need
watch
to
what
see.
happens
Yes,
here,
that-
because
that
I remember
validates.
there was confusion. I cut an edit there, but I followed Nick around the cabin, and then I came back over. I peeked my head inside that little cabin. Josh and Sean are out here, and we all thought Nick was inside, lying down on
top Cabot.
The bunks.
one of the pews or whatever. It looks like a little church pews or something.
And
but-
we're like, yeah, we'll give him a break. Or,
guys,
you know,
and
we'll
you wouldn't
catch-
think they're like going
catch our
and look to
breath.
see if I was laying down.
We thought, we
Strong
felt you
assumption.
needed 5 minutes. 5 minutes of alone time.
No, because I talked to somebody and they're like, no, the peak is right up there. And it was just like a 10-foot little knoll up into the woods. So I went right there.
Yeah.
And I waited for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, we
and
were
you
there for like
guys,
15 minutes.
I laid down on the ground up there because I was just like, I don't know where they are. And I'm going to take a rest here. And,
You know, it paid off though. Like we were fresh at the end. Like honestly,
you know, sometimes like that 10-minute break
Yes.
saves you 20 minutes later on of actual pace.
I mean, as much as we weren't killing ourselves by evidence of this video, like we were not going nuts, we passed like 5 or 6 people in the last 5 miles probably, right? Like we finished strong because we had those breaks.
But we passed people coming into the mountain. They got out before us, and we passed them again before we finished. So, I mean, it definitely, yeah.
This was the flag ceremony
Yep.
stuff where you can see on the left there, they tied it to the flag. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, this is so cool. Like, so this group of like kids, I don't know if it was a family, but they carried this flag in pieces, you know, up to the top, and they do this for all 48, I guess.
All 48, September 11th Memorial.
So cool.
Yeah. It is. I mean, if you can get out for that day, any of the 48 to go see, I mean, there's either going to be a scout troop there or...
These kids
Just
were miserable. Oh man, it made me feel good about everyone hiking up there that we weren't the only ones, but they were just like not having a good time, and I was like, we're having a good time.
Our fun meter is much higher than this.
Have you seen my face? It's,
That's great.
I got a silver medal on that section for Strava for best for having a good time.
This is so runnable.
That's the second best time you've had on that
Doing a 6-minute
section,
mile, dude.
and you've only been here once. That's how.
Yeah, I'm super curious what those other guys are doing.
So now we're descending the crown, right? So we just did Cabot.
We
So
just did
yes.
Cabot. But I mean, I think we knew mentally though that was the pinnacle of the entire race in terms of
Except it
difficulty.
wasn't, because Rogers Ledge or whatever that is at the end.
which I was
just
lying to everybody
brutal.
about Rogers Ledge. 'cause
Yeah, you said it
I
was
was like,
nothing.
it's
You wouldn't even
nothing.
notice
It's
it's a
nothing.
hill.
And I'm like,
So here's Rob. What's happening? Came up to him on that second bib punch. He had headed up with Kevin. I think he said he was the group that got lost for a little bit, but it was fun seeing one of our buddies. So we kind of had the
Was
feeling.
the Bulge or the Horn, one of those two little mountain peaks. Right?
Yeah, the horn, I think, is where you do the second bib punch. But it was kind of fun that we kept thinking all day, are we going to catch up to any of our buddies? So it was just kind of fun when that sort of moment happened for the first time.
It's
You
good
know?
to see some-
And he was ahead of us, but, you know, it was good to see from your face.
This girl who's running in front of us we would pass her on
branch.
literally every uphill, and then on the downhill she would just be like a rock falling downhill. She was going so fast.
I forgot about that.
It was intimidating how quick someone was moving down the mountain. But then we would pass like on the way back, but she ended up finishing way before us.
She also let out one of the biggest belches I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah,
I think she thought she was I thought she was far enough away from us that she thought no one could hear it. But
I don't know how far we have to be to like that was like one of those old horn calls.
Reverberating the trees around us. Yeah, you're like, whoa.
I think it echoed.
Yeah, the trees start shaking. You're like, oh my god, all right.
Sound like a Harley starting?
It's all good in the woods.
That was the Velociraptor.
It's like Homer Simpson was in the woods, man.
That's nice.
It's probably all the beer she had.
That's where we came from, right?
Yep. So this is another view that you're like, all right.
Check out that air, man.
Trail right on. There's our path right down there.
Rewarding.
Yeah, let's keep going. All right, now that's awesome.
That was the bib punch. Bib punch 2. There's Greg masturbating.
Working that pump again.
Keep it PG, brother.
Keep the pump.
I know it's the key.
It worked.
I think that's what he said.
It worked.
Get it official.
Video evidence.
Just 1 minute. Take a break.
No, I think we have a chance to age group award.
You want something other than that? Me? Yeah.
This part cracked me up because I'd been complaining about how all they had was sugar at the aid stations, and I wanted real food so badly. And this was like the scene in Dumb and Dumber where he's like, "Wait, the second pair of gloves."
Yeah, you had a banana this whole time. Like, yeah, it's the Kilkenny Ridge. Oh man, you know what's a pain in the ass carrying this real food? I wish someone would want to eat it.
You had potatoes.
Literally for an hour. I threw them away.
The banana's too bruised. We can't eat this anymore.
I've got so much real food, it's heavy. I wish.
But so yeah, I ended up eating that banana. But I was so craving real food, and it was just great how you very casually were like, "What? Real food?
Why didn't you say something? Yeah. Even though you said something for the last 3 hours straight. Like no one was.
Oh, look at that. Josh. Yeah.
Got it.
Footwork.
It's very impressive at this stage of the race to be able to do this little Peter Pan move off of a rock. That was very impressive. I wish I'd filmed more of these. Later on, there was one of these bridges that went on for a much longer stretch.
Features?
Not running.
Love features in the woods.
Wasn't running the GoPro.
No.
It was around mile like 19
No,
or
we
so.
were getting close. We talked about it. We talked about getting it out, and it was just.
It wasn't worth the energy.
There's 30 seconds worth of effort. We didn't have that kind of energy left.
But for those that might run this race,
That was awesome.
there are some absolutely gorgeous sections of these long bridges that were somewhere between miles 17 and 20 or so that I wasn't filming, but just absolutely beautiful.
Where it didn't have the views it like made up for in the actual terrain. It
It
was
was like
awesome.
going over like legit lakes and ponds, or not lakes, more like big ponds, but it was still very cool.
You can notice on this video, you're like very rarely ever just going straight. Everything is up or down.
Yep. Absolutely.
And in this section, you can see where your feet are going, which
But
is
look
also
at,
a
look
win.
at you can see the fatigue in our quads on
You
these
do that right in
steps
front of me,
now.
I did the same
Like
thing.
you're starting to notice it in how long it takes you to step up something, and like that's just it. This was tough, man. If you're gonna run this race,
Look at
get your squats, get your lunges in. Like that's how you prep for this race.
Speaking of fatigue, I got a kick out of this because Josh takes this little moment to catch a breather, and we're getting far into the race now, and you're doing these tough climbs, and then Nick does the exact same thing.
I'm probably
Josh
driving.
There's 20 people.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this was the point of
Hey,
the,
look at that face. I'm so miserable.
this was the point of the day where it was like, all right, this is our pace. Everyone's feeling it. Everyone's
You were just waiting.
everyone's
You were
hurt.
begging
You're
someone
just-
else to be the one that goes like, "Can I just take a second?"
Yep. Like, yeah, I guess we can
Look,
break here.
everyone's bags are all like loose, and we don't look all sharp anymore.
Loose bags. Whoa, keep it clean.
Loose bags.
Personal. Yeah, but it did feel good once we hit. There was intermittent spots where you could jog it out a little bit or loosen it up. And
Nice.
regardless of the fatigue level, like it actually does feel good to open it up a little bit. It just there was not a lot of opportunity to do that.
And then your legs hurt.
And then
Real
your legs
fast.
hurt. And then there's another hill, and so the next time you just say, "Yeah, good."
It was basically you
This isn't
use the
gonna be worth
downhills to like start your momentum in your first couple of steps to run, and then you do it until something stopped you with your momentum. You would like literally had to be like a ball rolling of just like take it when it gives it to you.
So it's funny, I was trailing people pretty much all race because I was filming, How did you guys feel about in terms of being marked? We overheard from the 50 milers that there were at least 5 to 10 people who got lost, and then in the 25 milers, Rob talked about getting lost. It seemed well marked to me, and Sean, you seem to have a good grip on directional stuff. But what do you guys think about following the course?
Group consensus probably helped us way more than we're giving it.
Where were there
credit to.
turnoffs?
Yeah, I thought it was
Like
pretty.
there was only like a handful of places you could
Yeah.
turn.
I
It was
agree,
like,
like-
are you on top of a mountain? Okay.
Yeah, are you on a trail?
There's now like 5 different places you can go.
But see, Sean, you're from New Hampshire. It's like this just runs in your blood. Like
Remember we asked Sean everything, even driving up, we're like, Sean, where can we get gas? Like, you should know, you're from New Hampshire.
You're from the state. You're only 100 miles away.
you had the trail like
Yeah,
pre-programmed
in the
onto your-
watch.
No, I agree with you. There honestly weren't many forks in the road, but there were a lot of people got lost.
Yeah. Yep. For sure.
Well, I mean, the one spot that we went off trail, it was just because it was so overgrown. You know,
Yep.
it's like that.
But that wasn't
Nothing-
a choice. There wasn't like an intersection where we were like making. We just like lost it.
Just
for a
nothing
second.
looked like a trail for a little bit.
But you can see, like, look how well it was marked. You can see those tags everywhere. But
I thought it was
oh, this
marked
was
pretty well, yeah.
so many Sour Patch Kids
Yeah.
here. This is the one.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
had a lot
this-
of M&Ms and
This
potato
trail team
chips
was
on
like
it.
angel team.
Yeah.
Like the girl standing there like came up with more food that we needed, and then all of a sudden a guy showed
This is
up
where
with
the
like
banana
filtered
happened.
water.
This is where the banana happened. As I'm sitting there, I'm like, I need to make room for Sour Patch Kids. I'm gonna throw this banana.
Anybody want this banana?
That second aid station was a much nicer spot.
Yeah.
Like I was
Yeah.
thinking,
Like
if
right
I,
in the
if,
lake.
yeah, if you're
Yeah,
gonna volunteer,
not in a ditch.
Yeah. Yeah.
First
Look at
was
this-
essentially
look
they
at this
manned them up
terrain
in a
here.
stream.
This is where it starts to be like, this is not very
Yeah,
frequently
where's the trail?
hiked.
My GPS says we're at mile 21.6, but we're thinking it might be more like mile 23.
So this is
Probably
not the
2 miles
primary way
left.
into Cabot. Like for how we got to Waumbek, like up the Starr King Trail, like that is if you're doing a 48, like that's what you go up and down, and like it was pretty wide. But this is
He's from New Hampshire.
yes from New Hampshire. Completed all 48 4,000 footers.
No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. The
he's got the calves to show for it.
for sure. Check those out. Oh no, that's Nick. You can't see his calves.
It actually goes in where my calves used to be.
But coming around the Rogers Ledge thing up to the Cabot Mountain, like that's just not your typical way of coming in. But
Yeah. I mean, you can
Again.
look at it.
You okay?
That happened when you
No, I
do
heard
that
it.
one time on the trails. That's going to happen like 3 or 4 more times because it just kind of loosens the whole thing up. But
That looked bad.
You got to keep moving though, because if you stop and think about it, it's just gonna swell up.
I feel like anyone who's run trails long enough, your ankles just get used to like rolling a certain point.
You're carrying all that upper body mass.
Hey!
I mean, how's it? It's like you're.
There he is.
It is true.
How are you gonna balance that? Oh, I got a mud.
Wow,
thing.
that mud.
This is,
Just when you're like
Up-
20 miles
like
in,
up to my
no big
ankle.
deal.
Is that moose poop?
Yes.
Yeah, and this is at the point where you're just like, I'm just gonna go through
Hey,
it.
we
Hey,
got
there's
Rob.
Rob.
That's
We got
nice,
him.
man.
It's so runnable,
Wait,
huh?
so we've already gone over Rogers Ledge then.
Oh yeah, we're
Okay.
like a couple miles from the finish.
All
line,
right,
I think.
This is where we were
This is-
trucking.
yeah.
3 miles from the end.
It felt like we were running like Boston Marathon pace at the end here, and we were probably going like 11.
Rob is a big dude. When I was watching this video, I was like, man, he's a big guy. Like just, I don't know, like, for like trail runners, you know what I mean? Like you don't.
He was in front of us for 20 something miles.
Yeah, we didn't catch him until what, 2 or 3 to go.
Yeah.
And his backpack looks like he's like ready to stay the week up there or something. Like it looks like he's carrying a lot in there.
Or he's got economics right after this at 5:40. He's gonna get to-
Gotta get out to my class.
He actually wasn't running the race. He was just late.
Wait, is he still wearing a
This
headlamp?
was a shortcut.
Okay,
No,
no,
it's
never mind. It's like it's a long day to have your headlamp on.
It's a long day to do anything.
It's
Whoop,
funny how
nice
these days
save.
are so long that you get these conversations where you just get to know people, you know, where I think like, I don't know if you can hear it much in the audio, but you and Rob are talking about like where he works, like, you know, Biogen or something in Cambridge. And like, you have so much time out there that like you just end up like knowing everything about everybody's job and where they live and their family. It's kind of funny.
It's like small talk for hours. Hours.
How about that local sports team?
But it's good. But you know what's awesome though about anybody who's so 2 points here, right? Like I tell people at work or friends that, oh, this is what I did this weekend, and number one, it's you did what? And then number two is, you know, 6 other people that wanted to do that.
There was like 3 people who wanted to go and couldn't, too. That was like the best part.
right.
We made up like a quarter of the field.
Right. But and then the second thing is, you know, I didn't know Sean going into this. I didn't know Rob going to this. Like, we started with sort of a group of 4, and then it was friends of friends. But anybody who's gonna do something like this, you figure, has that mindset where small talk for 8 hours is fine.
Yeah,
it's just totally fine. And
well, you've got conversation built into it too, of like status checks and like what's going on and where are we and what do we do, and he's like, how did we not get lost? We had 4 guys who were filling 9.5 hours or whatever it was with 8:59 we finished like
just shy of 9 hours.
Of like time to fill, of like talking about what's going on in between getting to know each other.
This is I think right where we had to convince Nick that there was only minutes to beat the 9-minute mark, the 9-hour mark. And he's like, no, we can take a break after this little stream. And it's
I forgot that watch my GPS had stopped at one point, and I forgot to turn it back on for like 10 minutes. So I kept like mentally always being like, oh, we got plenty of time. And yeah, then all of a sudden you guys, I realized that you can see immediately my cadence right now picked up versus before that scene, because now I was like, oh my God, you're right. We are like literally on like down to the minute. I'm running uphill. That's how.
You know, it's desperate.
I didn't do this all day.
No, we were moving at the end here. That's you pointing. You can see the beach.
There's the finish. Let's hurry.
There might be cameras.
Considering we had gone 24 and a half miles here, to actually open it up and run and not worry about falling is amazing. Like at this.
I remember this point too. Like, it's one of those, you can see the finish, but it's like halfway around a lake. And you're like, man, that's so far.
Yes, I remember getting to that lake and thinking exactly, like, is it a big lake? Is it a small lake?
Is it the Atlantic Ocean?
We're finishing on this side of it or the other side of it. Like, I know we're definitely finishing.
And you literally never believe you're done until you've crossed and people are like officially telling you that you're done.
Come out and got the Survivor situation, like tiki torch. There it is. Tiki torches.
Because we're like, oh no, I forgot my headlamp at the beginning. I gotta go back.
Can you imagine turning around and doing 25 to go back? Like, would you guys do this?
There's our girl. Yep.
I literally could not wait to just sit down and get my
Good job, buddy. Nice work, Josh.
See, like, goosebumps on Nick's arm.
Yeah, it was cold. Josh,
running strong.
Wait, you didn't finish with us?
I was like 30 seconds.
All right. I feel bad now. I felt her all together.
We were so deliriously ready to be done.
And then Rob was like very shortly after.
Okay.
These are sweet.
So none of you guys are going to sign up for the 50 next year? Do this thing twice?
It was like a half mile left, and everyone just like went as fast as they could.
All I can see the end.
Yeah, that was awesome.
You're on your own. We can see the end. You're on your own.
781.
Everybody was under 9.
It's not even the physical part that feels so good. It's that you don't have to be pushing yourself forward anymore. You can just like stop. You're good.
There's Tim. He's
he aged a year since he finished.
He's been hanging out for 3 hours.
Handing out koozies. Is that what she's handing? Oh no, hats.
Took a
And
nap.
then Sean, you carried that shirt.
I did pick up that shirt.
It had a skeleton on it, man. Remember, that was super cool.
It was a very cool Nike running shirt.
And there was Kevin in the blue jacket. He was the.
Thank you for the race, man. It was a great race.
Yeah, my knee.
Thank you guys. Great race.
Oh, that was an awesome race.
And it was rockier, like the pounding.